If you paid over, and y'all just went
No,
through
I
it.
haven't looked at that calculation.
What I've heard from some of the school systems, and I don't know if you all.
Well, schools definitely will be impacted, but right now, those with the teacher aides and
Yes.
clerical folks, none of those are covered right now. And the majority of those are looking at 30 hours. So you're talking about either reduced hours or some schedule or strategy that would make those individuals uncoverable in that situation.
Well, and you know, when you're talking about, I was talking with some of the substitute teachers and folks that had taught for years, retired, and then they're a regular sub with the school where they taught. They've got grandchildren that are there. They want to be able to, you know, still continue to sub. And they said now, and this may be Hardeman County situation also, Mayor, you can fill me in, but they said that they can only sub 29 and a half hours, and then they can be in the classroom 3.5 days, I think is what it is, and then they have to be replaced. So they can't sub for the whole week because that would trigger the 30 hours, and it triggers automatically. They don't average it out, but that they couldn't even sub elsewhere in another school. They would have to change districts, go to a separate school district and sub there. But that they said, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it's all subs, teachers' aides, techs, clerical, maintenance, bus drivers, that all of those, so our school systems are taking an enormous hit.
Huge hit there.
Huge hit.
You know, I'm speaking at the issue from a total broad perspective, nonpartisan. I make a mention that I know all about the healthcare plan that needs to be in place, but whether this creates America coming up with the right plan, that's what I'm looking for. Because I mean, this is something that's been on the table for many, many years prior to President Obama's situation. And we have not developed something that is in the best interest of the citizens of America. If this drives that to be presented and created across all fronts for the people of this country, then I can totally support what needs to be done. But if it's for one populace and leave the other populace out, then it's going to always be wrong. There'll always be infighting, and there's always going to be something that will be developing, but never anything put in place. And then people who either can't afford insurance or people who have preconditioned type of conditions will always be left out there.
Right.
So I hope that a plan that is sellable across both parties would be presented and sold that everyone can be covered. Because that's going to be an issue. I don't care who presented, whether Republican or Democrat. It needs to be something that will have total support across the board and really does address the issue.
Right.
That we're trying to deal with.
And the way I kind of couch that, and this goes back to when we were dealing with TennCare, my goal is how do we preserve access to affordable health care for all Tennesseans, for all Americans? And that ought to be our goal.
But unlike the mayor, I've been in healthcare for 37 years. And this has always been an issue, and every time it's like, this is not what we need, but nobody has come up with a plan. We delay, we repeal, we get rid of it, but nobody comes up with a plan.
Okay.
And we have the populace out there that is falling through the crack, that is dying every day, because they can't afford healthcare.
Mm-hmm.
So when are we gonna get to the real issue and come up with it? If you don't like it.
To put this on another perspective,
Yeah.
and I agree, our country does need something, but what I'm looking at is initial impact it's going to have on local government and small businesses, which my family has a small business, and it means that we're not going to be able to afford a small business to provide what the government is going to force us to provide, penalties and stuff. And, you know, we still get to the point, somebody's got to pay for it. You know, it hadn't been good in the past, but is it gonna be better? That's what I'm saying. Are we gonna have the impact on the little people?
Well, unfortunately, somebody is paying for it now. Your insurance is higher.
Yes, you're right.
Because of the uninsured that is
That's
coming
right.
in.
They are
You were
paying.
paying for
That's
it.
one,
And, but now, we're gonna put it back on the backs of somebody. It's gonna be y'all, it's gonna be the doctors, the medical profession, the hospitals. They're gonna go on that, and the small businesses who are trying to provide for the employees. If it's bumped 30–40%, it's gonna be an impact that a lot of small businesses cannot survive. And I say it from the city of Bolivar's perspective. We're trying to do the best we can, and we survived. We didn't even have, we pushed a health wellness program, and we didn't have a raise on our insurance. And we're taking care of our employees, probably better than any agency I know of. But next year, if it goes up 35%, we're gonna have to do something else. I don't know what we're gonna do. And that's what bothers me.
Let me throw a couple of things out there that we have put on the table. And we started this, you know, back in '06 to correct some of the things, and of course have, since the Blair House Summit in early '09, have been, and I was one of the 12 Republicans that went to that, have been offering these things as suggestions. And last year we talked about my bill here, across state line purchase of health insurance, opening up the healthcare market, letting people buy what they wanted, allowing them portability so they can take the same policy from job to job and don't have to constantly be changing policies if they want to change their job. So is that something that would help? Having, you know, people could search on the internet and find an insurance policy that they can afford that would cover what they need. Is that something that would make a difference?
I think that would add definitely some flexibility
Okay.
for those who can afford it. But you
Right.
got so many out there that can't afford regardless of what they
Right,
serve.
but if we get the cost down,
That's going to be the key.
see, they can
And how do
afford
you
it.
do that?
Well, one of the things I think is competition, so that you don't just have these single source providers. So the across state line purchase model it has the potential to drive down those costs. Another thing that we've been passing out of the House but couldn't get passed in the Senate is tort reform. And that is something that we continue to try to get done. Our state has handled that, other states have. We need that overlay at the federal level addressing tort reform. So you've got a cross-state line purchase, you've got portability, you've got tort reform, beefing up the health savings accounts. And that is something that individuals like, because if they don't use the money, they have the ability to save that money. And then they've got that catastrophic, or, you know, when I was growing up, we called it major medical. And they've got that plan that will cover those items. Another thing that we have been pushing is accountability on the insurance companies. If they sell a product and they say they're going to cover something, having them cover it. And making certain that there is some...
That's a definite need, because they are, as Rob just said, they are notorious.
Yeah, and making certain that they're good to their word. They need to be good to their word. That is something that we have out there. I'd love to hear some things from you all that you think would make a difference. What you would like to see us focus on.
There was an article in the paper today, in the commercial, about some area of the country that lowered blood pressure, and it was simply due to the fact that they took it under the wing, no copay. People that had blood pressure problems came regularly to a health care facility of some sort, had their blood pressure monitored with 2 simple blood pressure medicines, a mixture of the 2. And it's not a real scientific study, but basically for the populace in that particular area, they've lowered the blood pressure of 60% of the people who had come in, due to the simple fact that these people could come in unannounced to a healthcare facility and actually have their blood pressure monitored. Then provider or the doctor or whomever. They didn't actually have to see the doctor itself, but they prescribed this medicine, and it was checked on, and it was hassle-free type medical
Yeah,
care.
that sounds like one of the Medicare Advantage programs
I
that
don't know,
were,
but it's
that
in
were out
today's
there.
commercial. It sounds like a real innovative, simple process
Yeah.
to save all of us money in the long run. Help this area. But I know we do innovation, and I think everybody needs to know about it. There's lots of all, I don't think anybody does it for basically a little bit, pretty well my part. What we want to do is
We're talking about groups. Let me mention a group that I happen to belong to, and maybe some of you that have lost millions of dollars.
Seniors, Medicare Advantage is one of the things that we do want. Going back to what you're saying, that's programs that give seniors personal control over their health care, give families choice over how they manage that health care dollar. Jesse,